And I think leaders go first.
I think that every experience that a leader has, I think we're all kinds, we're different kinds of leaders at different points in time. Transformative, we're servant leaders, we're leaders that develop, we're leaders that, are able to make some very critical decisions and have to and do those things. But I was just trying to get to the point that every experience that you've had, even outside of your leadership, that's personal. You chose the route, you made a choice, and you've chosen this route to do these competitions. There's so much learning to them. But there's something that you're pouring back into your organization, and I wanted you to talk about what you were aware of that you are pouring back into your organization, and that's exactly what you're doing. And even so much as your peers as well. When you said you're sitting in a board meeting, right? And there's a lot to that, how you react to things, because I believe that physically we do train our minds on how to react to certain situations. That's why the physical component is so important to our leadership.
I've told my kids, I teach this to my daughters. I used to say it when they were young. I used to say girls react, but women respond. And so it's that time between reaction and response that can look so vastly different. When they would come to me with a problem, animated, exhausted, upset, I said, take some time to think. Take some time to think. There's a difference between reacting and responding. And most of the time, when we're reacting, we're getting it all wrong because we haven't given ourselves the time and space to think. So those are just one of the little virtues I try to always, kind of like the early's on time is late that we were talking about earlier before we started.
Exactly.
Reacting versus responding is a big one in our household. And in this company too. You can't have executives just reacting. You need them to be thoughtful about a response.
Absolutely. And I think the key word is being thoughtful about the response, because you want to get to a very healthy, thoughtful solution. And that's the only way to do so, is to have a thoughtful response. So I even think about the communication in our climate right now, the way we communicate with one another. It's what works is a thoughtful response. What works is true communication, high-level skills, which that's what you're describing. Very mature communication.
It describes, what this conversation is reminding me of. I had a coach who taught me something that I thought was really powerful in this climate. And I think it's appropriate for the climate, and just our conversation is lending to this. He said, when people are at odds, oftentimes they get coached to find common ground. The challenge with common ground is that if you're so far to the right or so far to the left, common ground means you lose, right? You lose because either party is not getting what they want and they're losing as a result. And so he taught me this notion of higher ground versus common ground.
Yes.
And I said, well, what's that? And it's actually quite beautiful. So common ground is coming to a conclusion where not everybody's getting what they want, but they're satisfied, or they're still disappointed.
Right.
Higher ground is the ability to understand someone else and have no judgment. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to agree with it. Don't have to.